In Vertex G4, it's possible to create patterns using added features or paths. In this video, you'll learn how to make path patterns. There are 3 different ways to create a pattern. You can create a new pattern by giving all necessary information to the dialog. You can paste a new path to a pattern by retrieving the settings from another pattern. You can also paste a path to a feature pattern. There are many ways to create a new pattern. Linear pattern can be either in only length direction or to both length and width direction. Polar pattern can be placed along a whole circle or only, for example, half a circle. You can also create a polar pattern with pitch or use guide curves to create a pattern. You can create a linear pattern by selecting a path and pattern from the context-sensitive menu. Give the number of paths and either length or delta. Length means that the paths are placed equally among that distance. Delta means the distance between each path. You can give the same information in width direction as well to create a pattern in 2 directions. After this, place a pattern using the auxiliary geometry. If you don't give length and delta at all, you have to indicate 2 points in the model between which the pattern is created. When you place the pattern to the path's point, it scales when you edit the model. You can create a polar pattern by selecting a path and pattern from the context-sensitive menu. If you want the pattern to cover entire circle, type the number of paths and 360 degrees to angle. Radius affects only the radius of the auxiliary geometry. The actual radius is the distance from the pattern's center to the original path. Clockwise or counterclockwise selection is important if the angle is smaller than 360 degrees. In this case, the pattern is created in desired direction for a given angle. In this example, this pattern is created clockwise and this one counterclockwise. That is because of the location of the original paths with respect to the desired final result. You can also create a polar pattern with pitch, in which case all paths are along the same circle, but each path is a bit higher than the previous one. As an example, let's create steps for a staircase. Give the number of steps, type 360 degrees to angle, and give the desired pitch in the delta field. You can change the direction of the steps by selecting clockwise or counterclockwise. You can also create a pattern using guide curves. Select with guide curves as the pattern's type and select the guide curves you want to use. Type either the number of paths when they are placed equally along the curves or delta when the program calculates how many paths are needed. In this case, the last gap between the paths may be smaller than the given delta. By default, the path is projected to the curve from its origin, but you can select a different locating point as well. You get the best result if you can select the locating point so that it is on the guide curve. You can choose if you want the distance to be measured straight or along curves. If a path has a feature pattern and you place a path or a component to the feature, the program asks if you want to create a pattern. If you select yes, the pattern properties are copied from the feature pattern to the path pattern. In the same way, you can add, for example, screws and nuts. Now the path pattern is created using the path pattern of the disk spring. If you create a free pattern, it's recommended to locate it using the auxiliary geometry. You can also locate the pattern by locating one of its paths, in which case you should locate the first path. You can delete a single path by selecting it and delete from the context-sensitive menu. You can delete the whole pattern by selecting it from the feature tree and delete from the context-sensitive menu. The program asks if you want to delete also model from which the pattern was made. If you want to keep the original part, select No. In other case, select Yes when the whole pattern is deleted. You can edit the pattern by selecting it from the feature tree and edit from the context-sensitive menu. You can change, for example, the number of parts or the length of the pattern. If the pattern's length was pointed from the model, you cannot change it afterwards. You can dismantle the pattern to individual parts by selecting Explode Pattern from the context-sensitive menu.